I just figured everybody be at work and it'd just be a couple of us here today, but I see the Cole Valley community came out, so thank you all so much for being here today at Wooden, one of the newest establishments right here in the Cole Valley community. You know, this is an amazing neighborhood, and so many great places like Reverie and the Ice Cream Bar and Zazzy, and I mean, this is just an incredible place to just enjoy the day. There's wine that you can buy, there's a postal service, there's Cole hardware, there's just anything that you want is located in this community. It's like one of the best kept secrets in San Francisco. And I know that because I come out here and hide a lot. But of course, the community, they recognize me because I served as a supervisor. And one of the things that we know that happens sometimes with our small businesses, they get caught up in the bureaucracy when all they want to do is provide a service to the community. This is a neighborhood where people know one another, where they walk down the street and see one another, where they hang out in places like this to enjoy one another's company, where we have watched kids grow up in this neighborhood. And, you know, the fact that small businesses, which oftentimes are run by the owners of the small businesses, the fact that they have to deal with so much bureaucracy to do simple things makes me crazy. And so one of the things that I have said time and time again that I am determined to do, not just for our small business community, but for affordable housing and other things, is cut the bureaucratic red tape that gets in the way of allowing our small businesses to just exist and be enjoyable for communities like Cole Valley. So I like to use this as an example. And let me also just pause for a minute and recognize Captain Bailey and the folks from Park Police Station, the people who keep our community safe. We really appreciate you. But when I was supervisor, Vallie, you remember this, you were supervisor, Free Gold Watch. You all know Free Gold Watch, the pinball machines and that place. So Free Gold Watch, an incredible place. There were pinball machine tournaments, there were activities, there was a place where the community came together. Well, unfortunately, it discovered after they opened that they were basically not in compliance with the law. Years ago in the 1980s, when we thought that video games were going to destroy young people, destroy civilization as we know it, all these laws were created that limited the ability to have these arcade locations within a certain feet of a school or a park or a gas station and all this craziness. And so I just couldn't believe it that we could potentially lose this amazing institution because of some dated laws. And of course, it's not just about creating new laws, it's sometimes about going back and fixing the old laws that have put us in this situation in the first place. And so we got rid of all that. Free Gold Watch is open, Emporium is open, Brewcade, and all these amazing places to bring back our childhood for most of us who lived through that time. And this is no exception where I think Steve, you just wanted to basically have music and sell a little bit of wine and beer for comedy night. And what he had to go through has been crazy because of some laws that were passed that include the Haight-Ashbury community. They actually impact this community, which is sometimes a little bit unfair. And what we are doing here today is really, you know, making it easier for small businesses to provide what I think is a basic community service. Of course, when you're watching comedy, you have to have wine or beer or some kind of beverage in your hand to just enjoy it, because most of the comics sometimes aren't even funny. So here we are, trying to make it easier for our small business community, trying to sign this legislation. And let me just be clear. My commitment to really addressing what we know is a real challenge around how small businesses are able to survive and thrive in the city is important to me. Dealing with our empty storefronts, coming up with new solutions, both with changes to our policies, but also with investments, financial investments. Even if we can't get rid of certain fees, I do think it's important that we continue through the Mayor's Office of Economic and Workforce Development under the leadership of Joaquin Torres to make sure that we are providing small businesses with the resources to do tenant improvements, facade improvements, and other things that are going to make your businesses grow and thrive. So financial investments, policy changes, this is how we're going to get there. And a champion on the Board of Supervisors who has been absolutely incredible and supportive and focused, even before she was on the Board of Supervisors, where she served as a legislative aide for 2 previous supervisors. I was one of those supervisors. But there was no one more committed to supporting small businesses and being responsive to the community than your supervisor, District 5 Supervisor Vallie Brown.
Yeah, I just want to thank a few people, and I've actually have them written down because I don't want to forget them. I just want to first thank the mayor, and I want to thank the team at OEWD, Joaquin, Jorge, Gloria, Marianne, and Ben back there. Ben, when we were doing this legislation, it was grinding. Just because it was pushed out, came back, Ben would always come back, kind of like, I think I have a way to do this. I also want to thank my aide, Juan Carlos Casino, back there in the corner hiding like normal, because he kept saying, we can do it, we can do it. I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce. They were there all along, coming to meetings and speaking in favor, the Council of District Merchants, and really especially the Coal Valley community. When this came to me, I have to say though, and this is kind of a little bit of a strange Groundhog Day for me, is when we talked about this, actually planning came to us 10 years ago and asked us to clean up a lot of the regulations around these kind of restrictions for businesses, because they said they were archaic, they were actually hurting small business. Now you have to remember 10 years ago, we were in a downturn, the economic downturn. We just didn't have time or the bandwidth to deal with it. So when this came back to me 10 years in the making, that's happened with Clean Power. I started Clean Power in Mercarimi's office, finished it in Supervisor Breed's office. 10 years. So this was 10 years in the making again. But this time I said, hey, you know what? This is a heavy lift, but we need to do this for small businesses. We need to do this for the person that comes every morning, opens up their door, is here serving coffee, is here cutting your hair, giving you some of the best cheese you've ever had, say cheese. And we need to do this for small business. They're struggling. We, as a city, should be doing everything we can to keep small businesses in place and to open small businesses. We need to be able to take the regulations away that hurt them, to take the time it takes to open a frickin' small business. I don't know how you can afford to pay for a space for a year to 18 months before you even have a business. How's that possible? You have to probably save for 2 years just to open a small business. So we have to say no. We have to make sure that we protect small businesses because, look, I lived in Lower Haight for 20 years and then I moved into this community. I almost feel like it's a Mayberry. I feel like I walk down the street, I know everybody. I can go from one store to another and get what I need for my everyday needs. And meet the people that I absolutely adore on the streets. So we have to keep these kind of neighborhood corridors throughout our city vibrant and vital. Because if we don't have vibrant neighborhood corridors, what does that do? That affects the whole entire community. So when the neighbors came to me, Coal Valley, and said, look, we really support this business, Wooden House. They want just a simple beer and wine license so he can have comedy nights. Now, how many times does a neighborhood come to you and say, we want this business of a beer and wine? Usually it's the owner, right? And I said, wow, Steve, you must have done something right in this neighborhood, because they absolutely loved Steve and said, Steve, we want you to be here. We want you to be successful. And the least I could do was take this legislation and push it through. Now, it took me 3 times before it went through land use, and I said third time's a charm, and we got it through. But we did it, and we all worked together, and it was unanimous at the board. So I want to thank everybody that was involved. There was so many people that came out for public comment, people behind the scenes saying this is what we need. And then, Steve, you came to those public comments. You had your staff watch the store while you came, your cafe while you came, and you waited and you spoke 3 times. So sorry. That's not, we shouldn't be doing that to small businesses, okay? So really appreciate your time because, Steve, you helped the whole city. You helped the whole city when they saw when the supervisors heard your story and they said, we've got to help this person, this small business. You actually helped the whole city. So you were an activist. So to that point, I'm going to introduce Steve Wickwire, right? That owns this marvelous cafe, and give you a few words. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all for being here. So some of you know, I opened this shop after working as a barista in San Francisco for 10 years, and I wanted to bring my passion and dedication for really high-end coffee service to Cole Valley, where I thought it was needed. And it's been really awesome and amazing being able to contribute to this community. And you know, with this legislation passing, we'll be able to contribute more, namely staying open later, providing beer and wine service, and doing really fun comedy shows here that I think will just, you know, breathe some new life into the neighborhood and add to the mix around here. And so I really just want to thank our district supervisor, Vallie Brown, and her team for their effort pushing this and supporting small business because, you know, if we do want to see more small businesses opening and being run by community members, you know, people who want to serve their communities, it just needs to be a little bit easier to do. And we need more pathways for these businesses to grow and adapt as they move forward. And so that's really what this is all about. And, you know, all of your support has made that happen here. So thank you all so much. Yeah, thank you. So now up next is Rodney Fong. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve, and congratulations. Hey, I feel like it's a new day. It's a sort of a fresh breath of air. It literally is a Chamber of Commerce day here in San Francisco. Want to thank Mayor Breed, Supervisor Brown for being champions of this legislation. This is really hopefully just the beginning of things. All the points you bring up about the vitality of San Francisco, how important it is for our streets to be filled with people, how our neighborhoods can get involved with businesses. At the Chamber of Commerce, we are putting new emphasis on small business. We've just hired a new small business manager, Amelia. We've made a strong commitment to Small Business Week here in San Francisco coming in May, and we're going to do everything possible. As I really feel, growing up in a small business and running our 50-year-old wax museum down at Fisherman's Wharf, creativity is the backbone of San Francisco. It's our secret sauce. And so if we can give entrepreneurs the opportunity to be creative, to be crazy, to be wild, to be funny, to be cultivators of things, we're going to do very well. So that means big business and small. I'm very happy to be here. I hope we have many, many more opportunities like this. Congratulations to the planning department and clearing some of the red tape, but hopefully we can get more businesses open here in San Francisco. So thank you very much for coming and congratulations to you.
Thank you, Rodney. And before we sign this legislation, I just want to thank our 2 small business commissioners for being here today. Thank you so much, Steve, who's the president of the commission, and Sharkey, one of the newest sworn-in commissioners because of his challenges with his small business here in San Francisco. So you really have some champions helping to push forward the kinds of policies that hopefully will make a difference for our small business community here in San Francisco. Now, let's get this piece of legislation signed.